Isn't it curious how Liz Truss, this completely incompetent Prime Minister, should continue to peddle her wares like some sort of aged, I don't know, anyway, person peddling their wares, going cheap. And I just don't understand how she seems to have such a lack of understanding, not only about the economy, the country, but also about herself. She seems to be unable to, as the great Scottish poet would have said, see ourselves as others see us, because it seems obvious to me. I know one should never use the word obvious. If it's obvious, you don't say it, and if it's not obvious, you're wrong. But Liz Truss is just staring you in the face. This former Prime Minister, once again, out there like some sort of cackling witch stirring the pot, positioning herself as the saviour of the Tories, the saviour they never quite realised they needed until she was gone. Her claim that the party would have fared better in the July general election under her leadership is a bold and ridiculous statement, given her infamous 49-day tenure in Downing Street, which ended in spectacular fashion after the ill-fated mini-budget, and her gawping at Kwasi Kwarteng. Oh, Kwasi Kwarteng's prodigious package. Well, you can't keep blaming somebody else for your own failure. And Liz Truss is the failure. Liz Truss, she remains unshaken for some bizarre reason in her own convictions, casting herself now as a victim of the establishment, targeting the Bank of England, the Office for Budget Responsibility, and a reluctant Conservative Party as the forces that thwarted her economic vision, as if she's some sort of prophet. This narrative, though hardly new, was laced with her ongoing disdain for so-called wokery she believes has gripped British institutions, claiming that the current leadership contenders lack the radical edge required to restore the party to its former glory. They should have me, she's practically saying. Truss's speech was not just an airing of grievances today, it was a strategic attempt to cast herself as the true radical, in contrast to Sunak's steady-handed conservatism. She lambasted her rival's Panglossian view of politics, arguing that the Conservative Party's strategy of merely demonstrating competence was doomed to fail without acknowledging the country's deeper crises. In that, she might even be right. But it's the wrong person advancing this stuff. She even hinted at admiration for Argentina's far-right leader, Javier Milei, reinforcing her brand as the insurgent candidate who might one day return, not unlike Boris Johnson. Ooh, I might be back. These two utterly inane Tweedledum and Tweedledee. They should never be given power again. Perhaps the most surprising element of her address was her refusal to back any of the current candidates for the leadership. I mean, yes, of course, it would be the kiss of death. Instead, she took aim at her rivals for avoiding the harder questions on key issues such as fracking and the Human Rights Act, which while portraying herself as the last true believer in a conservative vision that rejected the post-Blair consensus. And despite the dramatic rhetoric, Truss's political reality remains much less glamorous, and she has to face up to that fact. She is unemployed and unemployable. The packed conference room, people go there to see if she's still alive. How can she actually get to the end of a sentence? This huge conference room filled with 300 loyalists demonstrates that she retains a niche appeal. Yet the lack of interest from the party's mainstream suggests she is far from being an electoral force. Her bravado might captivate the fringe, but it's like going to a freak show. The silence from the wider Conservative Party is telling. Liz Truss remains defiant, certainly, but whether that defiance, rather than deference, will lead her back into the political fold or leave her as a curious footnote in British political history remains to be seen. I dread the thought of her being welcomed back in any form. This continued saga of Truss as both martyr and messiah is undoubtedly, of course, entertaining. It's like a sort of second-rate version of Nadine Dorries. But as the Conservatives look ahead, it's clear that any path to recovery does not involve returning to the chaos of anything that resembles her brief premiership. Instead, her speech serves as a reminder of the ideological divide that continues to rattle the party, and it serves to earmark or provide some sort of street sign that this is a dead end. This is a road down which people should not travel. This is not about a choice. This is about a diversion. A diversion. And down that road, monsters lie.